Disclaimer: this content is only for mature audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. It started like any other Friday night. The kids were at their grandparents' for the weekend. The house was quiet, and for once, we had time, just the two of us. My husband, usually calm and predictable, had this strange energy about him. There was something in his eyes that night, something playful, wild, and a little reckless. He poured us wine, played our favorite playlist from when we were dating, and kept looking at me like he was remembering a version of us we had long tucked away under bills, routines, and endless responsibilities. We laughed. We danced. We talked about everything and nothing. And then, somewhere between the second bottle and that old love song, he leaned in and whispered something in my ear, something unexpected. He asked me to do something I never imagined he'd bring up. I laughed at first, thinking it was a joke. But he was serious. He said it would bring us closer, that he trusted me, that it would be just this once. I hesitated. My heart was racing, not just from the wine but from the weight of what he was asking. It wasn't illegal. It wasn't even dangerous. But it crossed a line I didn't know we had. And I said yes. Looking back now, I wish I had thought it through. What felt like a thrilling moment turned into something I still can't quite explain. That night changed us. Not in the dramatic way movies show, but in quiet ways, subtle shifts in the way we looked at each other, the silences that stretched longer the next morning, the questions I didn't ask because I was afraid of the answers. He begged me to do it, and I should have never agreed. This story isn't about scandal. It's about love, trust, choices, and the quiet spaces between right and wrong in a marriage. We've all been there, those moments when the person you know best surprises you, when love feels like a risk, when one night can stir up more than just memories. So before you jump to conclusions, ask yourself, how far would you go for the person you love? Have you ever made a decision in the moment that you regretted the next day? Let's talk about it in the comments. Would you have said yes if you were in my place? And if you're watching this with your partner, maybe pause and ask, what's one thing you've wanted but never asked for? You might be surprised by the answer. Stick around, because in the next part, I'll tell you exactly what happened after I said yes and why things were never quite the same again. Backhand index pointing down, comment your thoughts. Would you have done it? Yes or no? Ballot box with ballot, check the poll and vote. I'd say yes or no way. Not me. Bell, don't forget to subscribe. This story's just getting started. I didn't sleep much that night. After I agreed, everything felt like a blur. He smiled, kissed my forehead, and said, "You won't regret this." But the second he turned away, something in my chest tightened. I wasn't sure if it was fear, guilt, or just the weight of stepping into unknown territory. We'd been married for over 10 years. I thought I knew him, every thought, every look, every silent message between the lines. But what he asked, it made me realize maybe we were both hiding things we never spoke out loud. The next morning, everything looked the same, but it didn't feel the same. We made coffee. He acted normal, humming as he buttered toast, like nothing had changed. But I kept watching him, looking for signs. Was he thinking about it? Was he feeling the same mix of excitement and regret? Or had he moved on already, while I was still stuck on rewind? We met when we were both 25. Young, broke, crazy in love. We promised each other we'd never let things get boring. Let's keep life interesting, he used to say. And we did. Until life happened. Jobs, kids, bills, routines. Somewhere along the way, interesting turned into predictable. Safe. And I thought safe was good, until he reminded me that sometimes, safe can feel like a cage. What bothered me wasn't what he asked. Exactly, it was why he asked now. Why this? Why us? Why did he look so calm afterward, while I felt like I was balancing on a wire with no net beneath me? All day, I kept replaying it. The way he held my hand when he asked. The way he looked like he'd been thinking about it for a while. The way I said yes, even though everything in me was screaming to pause and ask more questions. But I didn't. Maybe because I didn't want to ruin the mood. Maybe because I didn't want him to think I wasn't open-minded. Or maybe I was just tired of being the one who always said no. I looked at him across the table that morning, and suddenly, I wasn't sure if I was angry at him or myself. Because deep down, a part of me wanted to say yes. A part of me missed that wild, unpredictable side of us. But I wasn't ready for the aftershocks. And now I can't stop wondering, was this just a one-time thing? Or the start of something bigger? Something that might open doors we can't close? I haven't told anyone. Not my sister, not my best friend. Some things are hard to explain without sounding like you've lost your mind or your marriage. But I need to talk about it. Not for answers, but just to be honest. And maybe someone watching this knows what it feels like to say yes to something you weren't ready for, just because you love someone. If you've ever had a moment like that, where love and uncertainty collided, drop a comment below. Tell me, what would you have done? By the middle of the week, the tension between us wasn't loud. It was quiet, sharp, and constant. We were doing all the usual things, making dinner, folding laundry, watching shows in silence. But underneath, it felt like we were both walking around the same unanswered question, pretending we couldn't see it. He hadn't brought it up again. Not once. It was like he assumed everything had gone back to normal. But it hadn't. At least, not for me. I kept replaying that night in my head, over and over, analyzing every word, every gesture. Did he plan it? Was it spontaneous? Was this something he had been hiding for years, just waiting for the right moment? And more importantly, was I the only one struggling with it now? One night, after he fell asleep, I went through his phone. I know I shouldn't have. But curiosity mixed with doubt can be a dangerous combination. I didn't find anything dramatic, no messages, no clues. But that almost made it worse. It meant whatever was happening wasn't about someone else. It was about us. That's when another thought hit me. What if he was testing me? Not in a manipulative way, but in the way people sometimes do when they don't know how to say what they really need. Maybe this wasn't about thrill or spontaneity. Maybe this was his way of telling me something deeper was missing between us. But if that's true, why didn't he just say it? We have a friend couple, Jason and Lena, who divorced last year. From the outside, everything looked fine. But Lena once told me it wasn't one big thing. It was 1,000 small things we never talked about. I used to think we were different. Now I'm not so sure. I haven't told my husband how I've been feeling. Part of me wants to protect the peace. The other part wants to shake him and ask, why now? Why this? And why do you seem okay while I'm unraveling? So many questions and no answers yet. I know I'm not the only one who's ever felt like this in a relationship, when love, trust, and doubt start tangling up in quiet ways. What do you think I should do? Should I confront him? Or wait and see if he brings it up again? Backhand index pointing down, drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think he's hiding something deeper? Or is it all in my head? The weekend came around again, and it was almost like the universe had hit rewind. The kids were gone, the house was quiet, and it was just the two of us again. Same wine, same playlist, same low light in the living room. Except this time, everything felt different. Or maybe I felt different. I couldn't pretend to be relaxed, couldn't fake the smiles. I kept wondering if he was going to bring it up. Ask for more. Say something that would push things even further. But he didn't. Instead, he was perfect. Sweet. Funny. Attentive. Like the man I married. But that only made it worse, because the more normal he acted, the more I felt like I was losing my grip. At one point, he leaned over and kissed my hand and said, "I've missed this version of us." And I wanted to scream. Which version? The one that says yes even when she's not sure? The one who keeps smiling just to keep the peace? Around midnight, he asked if I wanted to go for a drive. That was always our thing. Late-night drives, no destination, just music and open roads. I said yes, hoping maybe the movement would calm my head. But the silence in the car felt heavier than the air. He had one hand on the wheel, the other resting near mine, not quite touching. I stared out the window, but I could feel him looking at me when we stopped at red lights. Like he was waiting for something. And then, out of nowhere, He said it again. Almost the same words as last week, but slower this time. He asked me to take it one step further. Said he'd been thinking about it ever since that night. Said he trusted me even more now. I felt my throat tighten. I didn't respond right away. I couldn't. The car was still moving, and I needed a second to breathe. When I finally looked at him, his face was so calm, so sure, it scared me. I asked, "Why do you want this?" He didn't answer directly. Just said, "Because we said we'd never stop being honest with each other." That line hit me hard, because technically, he was being honest. And that's what terrified me the most. We pulled into a quiet parking lot and just sat there in the dark. No music, no noise, just headlights off and everything still. He reached for my hand again, but I pulled it away. I wasn't angry, I was overwhelmed, confused. My heart was racing, and every possible scenario was playing out in my head. If I said yes again, where would this go? If I said no, what would it change between us? I finally said, "I need to think." He nodded. No pressure, no argument. Just silence. But it didn't feel peaceful. It felt like the moment before a storm. Backhand index pointing down, what would you do in this moment? Say yes again? Or draw the line? Speech balloon, drop your thoughts in the comments. What do you think happens next? He said the note meant nothing. That it was just someone he talked to when he felt lost, before he brought the idea to me. He kept repeating that nothing happened. No affair. No betrayal. Just conversation. But it wasn't the note that broke me, it was how long he'd been thinking about all of this, while I had no clue. That night he begged me to say yes wasn't a sudden moment of impulse. It was part of something deeper he'd been carrying. I sat across from him, staring at the note again. I wanted to believe him. He looked sincere. His eyes didn't shift. His voice didn't crack. But even when someone tells the truth, it doesn't always feel right. I asked him one last question. If I'd said no that night, would you have done it anyway? He didn't answer. Just sat there. And that silence told me more than any words could. That was the moment everything clicked. This wasn't about us being bored or wanting to shake things up. This was about something missing in him that he thought I could fill by crossing lines. And I did, just to keep us from falling apart. But we were already falling. We'd just been doing it quietly. I left the table, took a walk around the block, trying to catch my breath. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just felt still, numb. For the first time in years, I wasn't worried about saving us. I was finally wondering what I needed. When I got back, he was sitting in the dark, waiting. I told him the truth. I said I couldn't go backward. That trust doesn't just crack, it shifts. And now, I didn't recognize what we were anymore. I asked for space. A break. Something real, not dramatic. Just time apart to hear myself think. He nodded. No fight. No begging this time. Just silence. But just when I thought it was over, when I started packing a few things, the twist came. I opened the guest room closet, where we kept old boxes. And tucked behind one of them, I found a second note. Different handwriting. Different tone. This one was longer. Softer. It started with, "I wish she knew how much you talk about her." And it ended with, "If she ever finds out, please tell her I'm sorry." I froze. He hadn't just been talking. The story he told me was only half of it. And suddenly, every moment, every touch, every word he said that week shifted again. So now I'm standing at the edge of everything we've built, asking myself the hardest question: was he chasing honesty or just hiding betrayal under a different name? Backhand index pointing down, what would you do now? Speech alone, let me know in the comments. Stay or walk away? Can love survive half-truths? I didn't confront him right away. I held that second note in my hand, just staring at it like maybe if I read it one more time, it would mean something different. But it didn't. It was clear, personal, honest, and completely out of place in the story he had been telling me. I tucked it back into the envelope, folded it slowly, and placed it on the nightstand. That night, I slept in the guest room. Or at least tried to. I didn't say anything to him. I didn't scream or accuse. I just let the silence speak. I think he knew. The way he lingered outside the door, the way he didn't knock, he knew something had shifted in me for good. The next morning, we sat down at the kitchen table, the same one where all of this had started. I didn't ask for more explanations. I didn't need to. He told me everything. He admitted the late-night talks had gone further than he said. That there were emotions involved. That he didn't think I'd ever find out. And that he convinced himself it didn't count because it wasn't physical. I told him it counted. Maybe more than if it had been physical. Because sharing your soul with someone else while lying to the person sleeping next to you, that's the real damage. That's where love gets twisted. We didn't fight. We didn't throw things or cry in some dramatic way. It was quiet, honest, tired. I told him I was stepping away, that I didn't know what the future held, but I needed space to find myself again outside of him, outside of what we used to be. He respected that. Maybe for the first time in a long time, he truly heard me. A few weeks passed. I moved in with my sister temporarily. I started journaling, walking more, cooking for one. And strangely, it didn't feel lonely. It felt like coming back to someone I hadn't seen in years. I'm not going to lie and say I have all the answers. I don't know if we'll find our way back to each other. I don't even know if I want that. But I know now what I ignored for too long. Trust is not a one-time thing. It's built in small, daily choices. And once it breaks, it doesn't fix itself. So maybe this isn't a story about betrayal. Maybe it's about realizing that sometimes love grows in ways that quietly take it away from you. And sometimes, the bravest thing isn't holding on, it's letting go. How did you feel about this ending? Would you give him another chance or start over for real? Tell me in the comments, and let me know if you'd want a part 2.